Now, speaking of a mess, Big Ten football is back. Weeks after announcing the postponement of all fall semester sports, the Big Ten Conference and its Council of Presidents and Chancellors voted unanimously to resume the Big Ten football season beginning October 23rd. So, oh good, some normalcy. Will those players take a knee during the Star-Spangled Banner? It's become a big issue, a contentious issue, so much that when I admitted Monday that I watched a few minutes of the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in my home Sunday afternoon and enjoyed it, put my feet up, thought, wow, a little bit of football, the proverbial ceiling caved in on me. People said, why are you supporting a league that disrespects our country the way so many of these multimillionaire players do? And in the back of my head, I was like, well, I wanted to have some normalcy. Wait a minute. Why didn't I remember the Mark Davis rule? Mark Davis is a iconic, legendary radio host in Dallas-Fort Worth. He hosts the morning show on 660 AM The Answer. He's become a dear friend of mine, and I pay very close attention to him. The Mark Davis rule is, and he's a big Cowboys fan, one knee touches the ground by one of these athletes during the Star-Spangled Banner, and I'm out. I turn it off, and that's it. I do something else. And I should have paid attention because Mark is right. And when listeners called me and took me to task Monday, you convinced me. And toward the end of the hour, when I was talking about it, I was crouching in submission to your will that we should not support a league that engages in the antics of the NFL. How about you play football? And let's leave all the social justice warriors outside of the entertainment world. I thought it'd be kind of neat to bring Mark Davis onto the show. I visit with him every single morning to start my day, and so it's fun to return the favor a little bit. Mark, morning host, 660 AM, The Answer. Did you like seeing me all bloodied up because I admitted I watched a little bit of the Cowboys game?
Well, no, of course not. I never want that to happen to you. You're my buddy. And yet, as you told me the story, you rolled it out with such fine drama. You said, well, I learned my lesson. I happened to let on that I allowed myself to watch about 10 or 15 minutes of the game, and I instantly locked up and went, oh, no, that's not going to go well.
It did not end well. It was like the last time it went that well. There was the Forge Theater in Lincoln was slumped, and John Wilkes Booth was jumping on the stage saying "Sic Semper Tyrannis." I mean, it was not one single caller. It was texting and calling and emails, and it dawned on me I was wrong. And Mark, go back to your rule. What made you sort of draw this line in the sand? Talk a little bit about the evolution about what I call the Mark rule.
Well, it all, of course, goes back to the original Colin Kaepernick decision, which now seems like a dozen years ago, but then it all caught fire and vast majorities of teams, sometimes entire teams, are taking a knee. And I could see that spectacle coming down the pipeline, especially in the post-George Floyd racial hysteria that we have in the country right now, where we have real problems that deserve to be addressed, and none of it's happening because of rioting and kneeling and nonsense like this. So I guess everything's relative, and it would have been pretty easy to come into this season and to come into this game. I watched the beginning of the Cowboys and the Rams, and it was precisely one player, Dontari Poe, defensive tackle, one player. And it would be easy to say, wow, compared to the entire team, compared to maybe a dozen players kneeling like they did over on the other sideline with the LA Rams, that's a lot better. Maybe this is progress, and maybe I can watch. Nope. The one-player rule makes sense for the following logic. Jerry Jones either permits this or he does not. The Dallas Cowboys, so-called America's team, either permits this or it does not. If one player goes down on a knee, if 53 players go down on a knee, it is the same position. They clearly permit it. And that's a deal breaker for me. Now, to show that I really am willing to play, literally and figuratively, play some ball here, if they want some social justice moment, lift every voice and sing, even do a little kneeling, a little this, a little that, a moment of whatever moment of silence. That can you can either like or not like that. But if they do that and then everybody stands for the anthem, I'm just trying to get the anthem left alone. I'm just trying to get the anthem unfettered, our patriotic tradition unspoiled. And if I get that, I'm going to take the win. And if I got to sit through a minute and a half of something else, I'll do that because my anthem will be respected.
The irony of the beating I took Monday is that was always my position, and it has been for years since the Colin Kaepernick thing began. Just leave the anthem alone. Yeah. We ought to be having conversations about police reform. We ought to listen to Senator Tim Scott, who says he's been pulled over repeatedly in Washington, D.C. for, as he says, driving while black. Nothing wrong with having that conversation. Leave the Star-Spangled Banner alone. 15 New York Giants took a knee the other night. And incidentally, did you see the numbers for ESPN's Monday Night Football?
Oops.
Down, what is it, 27, 20, 28%? Yeah. Mark Davis is the author of Lone Star America, How Texas Can Save Our Country. He is a beloved Texas talk show host in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Speaking of Texas, there's been all this buzz about Texas turning blue and Texas voting for Joe Biden and Democrats. Last night, Joe Biden stumbled through an appearance in Florida, desperately seeking the Hispanic vote. It was a pitiful bit of pandering, playing Desposito off his phone. It was goofy, and babbling about quartermasters and with his mask on. It was just an awful, awful visit. Everybody knows it, too. Mark, what happens with Texas on November 3rd?
Don't tell anybody, but the chance of Texas going blue is 0. The chance of Trump losing Texas is 0. The chance of Senator John Cornyn losing is 0. Now, shh, because I don't want to have overconfidence. I don't want anybody to rest on laurels. In fact, I actively want Joe Biden to continue to pump money into Texas so that he's not spending it in, Wisconsin or Florida or Pennsylvania. Money he spends here is money he can't spend anywhere else in a state where he might actually win. There is no chance whatsoever of Joe Biden win, and it will not be particularly close. I'm not talking 15 points, but it's just not. Now in Houston, in Dallas, we are a red state with blue measles. As I say in Texas, we have Democrats here. We just don't let them run the place. And so you're Austin, you're Dallas, you're Houston, you're El Paso, you're San Antonio. Of course, there are Democrat voters there. It's not Utah. It's not going to be 80-20 Trump. But the notion that we're turning purple, I think that's Democrat wishful thinking, and I feel free to let them engage in that because that means they might shoot some money down here, which will be all for naught because we are going to remain a red state. You never know long term. Listen, 2024, 2028, migrations and populations and demographics, things do change. But for right now, and listen, we better not lose Texas because if Texas does turn blue, you'll never elect a Republican president again. You've got to with California, with New York, you've got to have. There's not enough Alabama, Utah, and Wyoming to elect a president anymore electorally if you lose the electoral votes of Texas.
Mark, you know what it means to start my day every day with you on your terrific radio show. Every morning we do the joking hashtag 735.
That's right.
I hear from everybody in the Metroplex who says, I love the segment with the two of you guys. We do it if I don't have the segment with you in the day, my whole day is shot. My whole day is ruined. And on a personal note, I just like the opportunity to lift up our friendship and the graciousness you've extended to me. I hope you know how much you and your family mean to me. And how grateful I am that you're in my life. Keep fighting the good fight because we all need your voice. And thank you for setting me straight on the one knee rule because I won't mess that up again.
You have helped me immeasurably so many times. We make each other's shows better, and you make my life better. I love you, buddy.
God bless you. I love you too. Mark Davis joining us here on the Mike Gallagher Show.